Welcome to Jesus Meditations. I'm glad you could join us this morning. And we'll begin with the invocation of Inayat Khan. Towards the One, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls, who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. And then we'll visit the elemental breaths. We'll be attuning to these elements with the Aramaic words to help bring us into this space of just attuning to the elements around us, the elements that are within us. And as we do this breathing, we're really being aware of how those elements become living beings within us and all around us. So we'll begin with the breath of earth. We breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the nose. We breathe in Allah and breathe out Ar-Ah, which is the word for earth in Aramaic. Just being aware of that individual being, the stability of the earth underneath our feet, feeling that strength and support of our bones and our muscles. Again, breathing in through the nose, Allah, the source of all. And breathing out Ar-Ah through the nose. And visiting the element of water, you breathe in through the nose, Allah, and breathe out through the mouth, Maya. Just recognizing the flexibility of our muscles, the blood running through our veins, feeling the dew and the moisture in the air. And breathing in Allah through the nose. And breathing out Maya through the mouth. And visiting the element of fire, we breathe in through the mouth, Allah, and breathe out through the nose, Nurra. Noticing the light and intelligence, and feeling the warmth of the sun, feeling our heartbeat, our heart passion within us. Breathing in Allah through the mouth, and breathing out Nurra through the nose. And we attune to the breath and element of air, breathing in through the mouth, alaha, and breathing out through the mouth, ruha. Ruha being that holy breath, the source of all breaths. Just feeling the breeze or the wind in the air around us, feeling that life-giving breath coming within us, breathing in through the mouth, alaha, and breathing out through the mouth, ruha. And attuning to the breath of ether, a combination of all of these elements, the source of these elements, the source of us. And we breathe in alaha, breathe out alaha. This is just a natural breath, refined breath through the nose or mouth or both. Just attuning to that ultimate source, alaha. I'll say the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. It's in your chat window. Avon Dabashmaya, Nikadashama, Te Te Malkuta, Nahwe Saviana Chayakana, Dabashmaya Afbara, Havlan Lachma de Sunkanan Yamana, Washbochan Chaubain Wachtahain, Ayakana Dafkanan Shlachan Lachayobain, Wela Tatlan Laneshuna, Ela Patsan Menbisha, Metol de Lachye Malkuta, Wahaila wa Tashbukta, la'alam. Amin. Amen. So last week we started our series on the Beatitudes and the blessed are statements of Jesus in Matthew. And we're now visiting the second Beatitude, and I'll put that in the chat window for you, the Aramaic. So we'll be saying, Tu voyun labwile dehanon netbayun. This is traditional King James translation in Matthew is, Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. And there's a lovely attunement that I'll read from Sadi's book on the Aramaic Jesus. So we'll start with that, and then we'll have some attunement to that through our body and breath and intoning of this line. So let's expand this beatitude just a little bit. Tu voyun labwile dehanon netbayun. One of the difficulties with the usual translations of the Beatitudes is that they lend themselves to the idea that if I feel bad now, I will get my reward later in heaven. Yet delayed gratification is not what Yeshua is talking about. How then is mourning ripe? Before we get into the Aramaic words, we can ask, what prevents us from feeling at home in our breath, from feeling nature's vision and power within us? According to Yeshua, we are holding some rigidity in our nafsha, or our small self. It can't fully breathe. Of course, we need some boundaries to hold the self together. Really, from the roots of nafsha, a boundary is what a self is. A holding of breath in flesh for a certain number of years. Yet extra unhealthy holdings prevent us from feeling connected with life, nature, and our source. Instead, they keep us feeling isolated. The medicine of this beatitude asks us to notice in a loving, respectful way where our nafsha feels ignored, confused, or isolated. Remember that according to all the ancient Semitic creation accounts, life in time and space unfolds in its opposites. If there were no possibility of confusion, there would be no possibility of clarity. Labwile, from the main roots bol or bwa, plus the L is a direction toward, a feeling that carries us beyond what our self recognizes as its limits, off the deep end. Abwile can mean to mourn or be confused, feel in emotional turmoil, or wander aimlessly. Some part of us wants to go beyond who we thought we were. Life conspires to help us learn from the turmoil of love or pain or both. If we can feel and name these intense emotions, grief, remorse, confusion, regret, guilt, or coming apart at the seams, and still continue breathing, returning to the moment, to rightness, we can then begin to release what holds us back. These feelings no longer linger in the darkness, which simply means what's unknown in Semitic languages, but can stand in the light. We create a bridge of breath and awareness to them by naming them. The light, more knowing, then leads to a better understanding of ourselves. Dehanon, similar to Dilhoni and the last saying of them, abundantly created from. So being consciously in a state of abwile. And the word netbayun, from the root bun, or birth, conception, new embodiment. This root finds the sound for life, y, within its bun, so we have bayun, and becomes a sort of innate intelligence, which selects the impressions of nature that create a ripe vision of ourself and the world. By breathing with our confusion, we are rebirthed, knit back together again, ready to see clearly and reunite with the larger universe of life and love. This beatitude is more a surgical letting go than what we found in Yeshua's prayer. Mourning and emotional turmoil can lead us to the doorway of actually recreating ourselves and our perceptions of the world around us. From the viewpoint of the ancient Semitic languages, the world we have today is one we have collectively created, beginning with our ways of perceiving it. Technology works because we have hypnotized ourselves to perceive nature as an object and then manipulate their appearances. The good news is that we can use this same creative ability of the self, empowered by Allah's Malkuta, or power, in us to perceive and then create a different, more balanced relationship with nature and everyone around us. So another translation of this beatitude could be, ripening arrives to those who consciously breathe into the well of their confusion and grief. They shall feel themselves surfacing again with clarity and joy. I also want to revisit this sentence earlier that says, by breathing with our confusion, we are rebirthed, knit back together again, and ready to see clearly and reunite with the larger universe of life and love. I also, thanks to Sarah, found out that Anaya Khan wrote about the Beatitudes, or spoke about them, in his volume 9 of the Unity of Religious Ideals. There's a whole chapter on Jesus. So he has some of his own translations of the Beatitudes. So I thought we could visit this as well, and bring this attunement in. So for this beatitude, Anaya Khan says, all things are given to those who demand. Only they deserve them, and only they can enjoy them. So the infant cries when it is hungry and it is given food. It is then that it enjoys it most. So it is with the lovers of God, with the seekers of truth. When their desire becomes so deep that it makes them mourn, it is then that they are comforted. So this can be a good addition to our attunement to really not running away from the grief and confusion, and maybe it's even that longing for that connection, our soul's longing for that connection with the divine, or even remembering who we are as that love and life, that source of all that's within us, and we just get confused. Our nafsha, our lower self, gets confused, and so there's been a theme lately in some of our Sufi classes about being attached to that confusion and that grief, and it's not about just ignoring it or chopping it away and saying, well, I'm just gonna move on and let that go. It's really, there's a sense of bringing light to it and really bringing the breath to it in this practice and with this beatitude, and really recognizing that longing that the soul is yearning for with connection. And we will find a sense of release as we begin to breathe with it and listen to it, um, and then we reach that sense of net bayun, of having more clarity and joy and connection with life. So our practice today will be just really attuning to that and remembering that we can find that ripening, that ultimate joy and happiness or blessedness by breathing into that labwile, that mourning, that confusion, that grief, that restriction, whatever that is, and then allowing the net bayun to come to being as well, and really allowing that joy. So I think we'll just repeat the line aloud a number of times, maybe 33 times, and invite you to do a movement with this where when we say tu bayun, we're breathing into the heart again. I think this is probably going to be a common thing with our Beatitudes. It's just that tu bayun is the ripening, an expanding of that heart space. So breathing in, or breathing into the heart, tu bayun. And for labwile, I invite you to breathe into the belly, or even bow down into the belly, where we often feel that turmoil and those emotions. I mean, of course, it can show up anywhere, but I know that can be a space where we sometimes feel that confusion or restriction. But really breathe into wherever you might feel the constriction. So labwile, and then bringing our bodies and our hearts back up. And when we say dechenon net bayun, and really allowing that light and intelligence and that source to bring more clarity and joy. So we'll say these with that movement. Tu bayun labwile, dechenon net bayun. 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 Tu Vayun La Wile Dehanon 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 Net Bayun. Two more times. Tu Vayun La Wile Dehanon Net Bayun. Tu Vayun La Wile Dehanon Net Bayun. I invite you to bring this onto the breath. Maybe keep those same movements and being aware again of bringing the Tu Vayun, the spaciousness, the ripening into the heart. La Wile, really allowing yourself to visit and recognize where there might be restriction, grief, confusion, and then breathing in Dehanon Net Bayun, allowing that clarity, that intelligence, that light, and that bliss. And you can eventually let go of the movements if you wish. And just sit in the essence of this teaching. 5 minutes more or so of just silence, breathing into this. Uayong la wile dehanon net pai. Ripening arrives to those who consciously breathe into the well of their confusion and grief. They shall feel themselves surfacing again with clarity and joy. I'm going to read again in Khan's translation. When the infant cries when it is hungry and it is given food, and it is then that it enjoys it most. So it is with the lovers of God, with the seekers of truth. When their desire becomes so deep that it makes them mourn, it is then that they are comforted. So we can be with that confusion and grief and also remember the source and the love of our soul that's within each one of us. All right, thank you, friends, for your sharing. And now we'll close with the prayer pier from Inayat Khan and just attuning to our teachers and their blessing. And so here we go. Inspire of my mind, consoler of my heart, healer of my spirit. Thy presence lifteth me from earth to heaven. Thy words flow as a sacred river. Thy thought riseth as a divine spring. Thy tender feelings waken sympathy in my heart. Beloved teacher, thy very being is forgiveness. The clouds of doubt and fear are scattered by thy piercing glance. All ignorance vanishes in thy illuminating presence. A new hope is born in my heart by breathing thy peaceful atmosphere. O inspiring guide, through life's puzzling ways, in thee I feel abundance of blessing. Amen. Thank you.